Dr. Cordolino?
Here.
Mr. Daughtry?
Here.
Mrs. Spano?
Here.
Mr. Grau?
Here.
Mr. Palma?
Here.
Mr. Petrosino?
Here.
Mr. Rappaport?
Here.
Ms. Zuckerman? Here. Dr. Modrock?
Here.
Mr. Parisi? Ms. Ammer?
Here.
Okay, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Open public meeting notice, please.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend public meetings at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of the Act, the Montville Township Board of Education provided a public notice of this meeting, which included the time, date, and location, that was posted at the Montville Township Municipal Building, all Montville Public Schools, the Montville Public Library, the Montville Township Board of Education Administrative Office Building, the district website, and advertised in the Daily Record, the board's official newspaper on January 22nd, 2023.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. Student report, please.
Unfortunately, Erin can't be here with me tonight to announce the student report, but it's okay. For past events that have happened since the last meeting, the spring musical Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat was a huge success on March 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. A huge congratulations to all the cast, crew, and everybody that was involved in the show. Congratulations to Madeline and Eliza Cecilia, a junior and freshman sister duo, for earning matching gold medals at the Eastern Sectional Figure Skating Championships. And the 41st Annual Volleyball Marathon, also known as VBM, was held last Thursday. The theme of the tournament was movies and shows, and students were encouraged to dress up as their favorite TV shows and movies, but Team Batman clinched the win. From March 6th to 8th, FBLA attended the State Leadership Conference in Atlantic City. The program did great with many first-place finishes coming from several students like Adit Nagar, Ryan Sun, Arav Milinti, and Havish Boda. Presently, the NG GPA testing occurred this week for juniors, and we all wish them the best of luck. Spring sports are starting up, and all of our teams are very excited to get going. And for future events, the Harlem Wizards are coming to Montville on March 19th for a game. The MTHS Music Department will be traveling to Disney this upcoming week to attend a Disney workshop, as well as have an amazing time in the parks. And students look forward to spring break at the end of this month. Thank you.
And I just have to say, wonderful show. I mean, the shows that high school puts on every year are fantastic. This year was an exceptional show. So we did a wonderful job. Joe and Rosa did a great job, as well as Joseph. You know, the directors, the choreographers, the music directors, all really put on a tremendous show. Really strong.
And just say that production was Broadway worthy.
Yeah, I mean, those are words that people use lightly, but in this case it really is appropriate. And I feel like every year I go there saying they can't possibly top what they did last year, and it just seems like every year the bar gets raised a little more, where, I don't know, maybe we're going to do Starlight Express next year or something like that. But
Thank you so much.
Right, a true indication was when everybody's dancing in the aisles, you know, parents, adults, grandparents, all that stuff, so there was a real great energy the whole night.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Good job. Superintendent's report?
So we're going to start off with a presentation. We have Lazar, we have some student reps here. Mr. Bushido is going to introduce them, and then you're going to tell us what's going on at the middle school.
Just kidding. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Good night, everybody. How are you doing? I'm not going to say very much. I'm going to have the student council reps speak for themselves, but the one thing I do want to say is these young ladies represent a group of 87 peers that are part of our student council, which is by far the most we've ever had at Lazar, certainly in my 6 years, but I'm aware after checking with both Mrs. Carr and Mr. Galucci, that's the most they've ever had. So we're very excited and proud of all the things that they're accomplishing, and I'll let them fill you in on some of those things.
Hi, I'm Jill Patel, Lazar's president.
And I'm Shireen Syed, Lazar School Store Liaison, and we are members of the Lazar Student Council.
Student Council has grown a lot this year. We currently have 87 students, and this year all students that were interested in being part of the Student Council were encouraged to be a homeroom representative, and we have every single homeroom with at least one representative or more.
We have a 6-person executive board with 2 treasurers and a school store committee. Interviews were conducted to narrow the almost 50-student pool for executive board to 12 students who created speeches, ran, and were elected by the student body. This has allowed for tons of things to be planned and carried with a lot more energy and excitement to make Lazar a place we all want to be and safe to become who we are meant to be. We have supported, encouraged, and carried out Lazar Wednesdays. Lazar Wednesday started right after COVID with the goal of connecting students and staff and showing school pride. It is meant to be a simple gesture to show unity. In addition, we have created Fun Fridays, and upcoming those that still remain include April Fun Friday, which is Frazzled Fun Friday, where students can wear crazy hair, mismatched clothing, and etc. May is Flashback Friday through the decades with 6th grade 60s, 7th grade 70s, and 8th grade 80s, where we have combined with the choir to bring a cabaret to the cafeteria and musically represent those eras as well. June will be a Flash Forward Friday to compete with college and high school career aspirations. Ms. Linares takes pictures to post on school TV to be able to connect and experience all the school spirit. As well, the school store had its grand opening in November. We will soon be adding some clothing for purchase. As well, we've hosted haunted hallways and silly sweater contests and multiple events.
Here are some of our charitable efforts. We have helped the Montville community by collecting cans and food for Thanksgiving and donations of gift cards for the holidays. We have contributed to all of Morris County by collecting gift cards and purchasing gifts for children in foster care and boys in the Denville group home. We also helped out our fellow classmates who were collecting items for children battling cancer at Sloan. We will also be collecting leotards and dance gear for underprivileged youth in our area. In February, we created an activity to mimic what the teachers are doing. Teachers are doing pat on the backs to recognize something amazing that their colleagues have done. Students kicked off kindness by showing love at Lazar. For the month of February, all students and staff purchased free hearts at the school store, and then they wrote to a friend or faculty member a message to show they care. Student council members displayed these memos on a bulletin board in the cafeteria for February and then distributed them to recipients at the end of the month. Currently, for March, we are spinning off this idea and giving secret support gifts to classmates and teachers. A shamrock can be purchased for free at the school store. A message and a small token of appreciation is dropped off at the pot of gold at the school store, and student council members will distribute these secret gifts. The idea is we are lucky to have these people in our lives, and the bulletin board will show why we are lucky to be at Lazar. We also have 2 7th grade students, Zara Metha and Jackson Greeley, nominated and selected as the only New Jersey delegates for the nationally recognized American Writers Museum. They are expected to virtually attend the Student Advisory Council meetings of the Chicago-based museum. Then they turnkey the information and bring it back to New Jersey. As well, they give their insight and input and have an active role in making the museum and its opportunities more accessible and student-friendly.
Also, we are planning a school-wide movie night where we can socialize as a school for a fun-filled night of movies, concessions, and just getting to be together. This is being set up for May. And we also plan to run elections for high school class officers in June, as well as projecting ideas for next year as well, which include a color run to benefit mental health and LGBTQIA charities. We would also like to get the senior citizens involved in the Lazar community and are hopeful to have a few things running for next year to accomplish that goal.
We feel lucky to be part of Lazar and the Student Council because of the warmth and welcoming feeling of being part of such a caring community.
As well, it's a great supporting environment with resources to help every student that's in need. Thank you so much for your time.
Excellent job. Hopefully we'll see you up at the table in a few years. But it's always great to hear how much the students are giving back, collecting and giving to the various groups. And the one thing I saw most striking was flashback 60s and 50s. I mean, like, it doesn't go out of style. 50 years ago, 60 years ago, you're still trying to bring that back. So that's great stuff.
I think it's great that they're giving back like they are. That kind of enthusiasm is infectious. It'll spread to other schools. We'll take it with you to the high school. You know, with what has happened in the past couple years with COVID, the kids really need that kind of activities and those fun nights and the socializing. So thank you very much for everything you're doing.
All right, so now we're going to move up to the high school. We have Mr. Stanford here.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to be introducing a student. Just bear with me while I read for myself from some notes here. Cybersecurity comes to MTHS, not just for the faculty and staff, but for the students as well, since MTHS was one of the pilot schools for the Garden State Cyber. To celebrate the arrival of this important topic, Jenna Iarbolino has a short presentation that will focus on the social engineering aspect of cyber threats. When it comes to cybersecurity, a good offense is an informed defense. Jenna will explain password guessing attacks and share practical advice for stopping those attacks by demonstrating how to create a very strong password that's easy to remember. A little bit about Jenna. Jenna's a senior at the high school and co-president of the Computer Club. She has excelled in several cybersecurity programs and competitions, including CyberStar America, where her impressive performance earned her free tuition to attend the SANS Cyber Foundation's Academy over the summer. Additionally, she was one of the 20 students selected for a summer internship with the New Jersey Department of Homeland Security, further exposing her skills to virtual labs and networking with employees. Jen is now pursuing a degree in computer science and cybersecurity with a particular focus on social engineering. Ladies and gentlemen, Jenna Iarbolino.
Good evening. My name is Jenna Iarbolino, and I would first like to thank Mrs. Furman, Dr. Schwartz, Mr. Sanford, and the Board of Education for allowing me to share my presentation tonight. My interest in computer science has grown starting from middle school and now at the high school, and will continue to grow at Marist College in the fall. As Computer Club president, I participated in and promoted a cybersecurity program and competition called CyberStar America. This is where my interest in cybersecurity first started as a sophomore. In addition, I was fortunate to have an independent study with Mrs. Furman this year to extend my knowledge for even further, focusing on specifically cybersecurity. So one of the biggest concepts I took away is that the best offense is to have a strong and informed defense. To begin, I have a fun little quiz for you all. I want to see if you guys can name these platforms. We have the first obvious one. Google. And a social media platform. Instagram. This one's a little harder. Xbox. This one? Yes. And last one, TikTok. So each of these platforms require an account or profile with a secure password. The more accounts you have, the more passwords you have. So my first question for you all is, how many of you use the same password for every account you have? Well, researchers found that about 2/3 of Americans reuse the same password across multiple accounts. My second question is, what was the last time that you updated your password? And not because you pressed forgot my password. Probably never. So, cybersecurity experts suggest that you change your passwords every 3 months for your own security. Some other facts include that the password and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are the most commonly used passwords, and the most commonly used symbols are the exclamation point and the address sign. So more specifically, I can tell you that if your password has a capital letter, it is probably the first character. Does your password include a number? And is those numbers 1 or 2, or both, because they're next to each other on the keyboard? Or are those numbers placed at the end of your password? If you're a males tend to use their favorite sports team in their password, while females may use the name of their pet, children, or other personal family names. My point is, if I know this, then the hackers know this. And in fact, they use databases that rapidly test different combinations of the most commonly used passwords to hack your password. Many people turn to password managers to save or remember their many passwords. However, They are only as good as the company that runs them. Just last August, LastPass, one of the world's largest password managers, confirmed that it had been breached, and about 25 million users are trusting them with their information. So instead of risking your privacy with a password manager, I'm challenging you all to use a customized algorithm that will create a unique and easy to remember password for each profile and account you make. So in front of you, I have handed out a worksheet that looks like this. And together we're going to make a password for Monty the Mustang. So with just 3 pieces of information, we can create a strong and unique password. Follow along as I walk through the steps on my worksheet. So my first step is to reverse the name of the website. So Monty is making a profile for montville.net, and the first step is to reverse the word Montville. So far your password should be ELLIVTNOM. The second step, I will add the sum of Monty's birth month and birth date, which is June 22nd, the date of graduation. So 6 plus 22 is 28, and I will attach it to the beginning of the password. As I mentioned before, hackers expect to have the numbers at the end. For step 3, I'm going to count the length of the website name, and since there are 9 letters in the word Montville, on the keyboard, the special character above the 9 is an open parenthesis, so this is your special character. And I'll attach that to the end of the password. And then lastly, the last step is to take Monty's favorite phrase, "You can't hide from Mustang pride," and abbreviate it into an acronym, taking the first letter of each word. I'll capitalize those letters and then attach it to the end of the password. And there you have it. This password could take a computer 7 quadrillion years to crack. Just using a simple algorithm, Monty now has a password with uppercase and lowercase letters, uses numbers but at the beginning, is 18 characters long, has unique special characters, and includes a personal algorithm, a personalized acronym, and is specific to the website. So as I said before, the best offense is to have a strong and informed defense. Cybersecurity is becoming increasingly important each day in our digital lives. It is important for each and every one of us to take responsibility for protecting our online accounts and personal information. By using personalized algorithms to create unique and secure passwords, we can significantly reduce our risk of our accounts being hacked and compromised. I hope that this presentation has been informative and encouraged you to take action and strengthen your own online security. Thank you for your attention.
What are you doing 3 months for a half a change?
You can switch up your algorithm. You can change like a small step to a different 3 months. Yeah.
That was excellent.
Go ahead. Might I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard some people say, though, that the trend seems to be getting away from these wild passwords and getting more towards phrases like nobody might think of. So, like, oatmeal cookies taste like dog barf or something like that. And they say, no one ever think of something like that. And that kind of gets away from what you're saying. I mean, what do you think about just using personal expressions?
That's actually a good question. Past phrases are good to use to remember, but using a full word that's in the dictionary actually is a way that hackers can go through your passwords and do trial and error through the dictionary way of attacking your password.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that certain, back in the days, like phrase like now is the time for all good men to come to the age of their country. Like you go 200 million people, somebody's going to use that phrase, So, I tend to think your way is better. I was just wondering what you thought about the trend.
Yeah. And also, if you only use words, then you don't have the variety of the numbers or the special characters either.
you very much. I appreciate that. It's very enlightening, and I will have to go home and change my password now. Not to this, though.
Debbie, can you tell us your mother's passport?
It's all the same.
She has to work on that.
They're all the same.
No, that was excellent. You know, we have our IT department working with us a lot right now and trying to educate us on all of these things. And our staff have been going through a lot of phishing scams and other things, duo, passwords and things like that. So it's very timely and very important. So thank you very much for educating us.
Thank you.
Pardon me for coming back up to the microphone for a second. I just wanted to ask that everybody give a round of applause to Ms. Furman, who does a great job educating our students.
Now, we appreciate all you're doing on a daily basis to help the students understand this whole new world for all of us. It's changing so quickly. So.
I gave it to
So right now we're going to slide on to the business end of things. We have Ms. Slunt, who's our business administrator, who's going to be walking us through the budget now.
So the Finance Committee has been meeting over the past 6 weeks to review the budget and help prepare and put together a budget for the 22-23 school year. The presentation that we're going to be doing tonight is on the tentative budget, which needs to be submitted to the county office for review on Monday. So that is part of a resolution on the agenda to approve that and do the related submission. But what I am going to do is I am going to just go through some of the highlights of this budget. The way that the budget is put together is that it is organized by the type of expenditures that we would be proposing and grouped into groups. Those groups include instruction, support services for students, administration, operations, and capital projects. And when we look at the budget, we sort of look at all the costs that relate to those different areas and then break them down into smaller groups from there. So we're going to follow that same kind of way tonight. So the first area that we're going to look at is instruction. In terms of instruction, the 23-24 budget includes an additional elementary school teacher based on the enrollment at the elementary levels, an expansion of our preschool program, adding a section. This is a program that allows preschool students to come to Montville's schools a little bit early, and they participate in a pre-K program that we run, and they pay a tuition in order to participate. We will be expanding the SIL program at the high school and the Learning Language Disabled program at Valley View based on needs of students at those two levels. We will be adding an industrial arts teacher to the high school. We haven't had one, the full accoutrement of them in the past, and so our ability to secure one is an opportunity to grow that program. And then we will be adding an additional part-time bilingual teacher. Our students who are not English-speaking by birth, who are entering our schools, have been increasing over the years, and so this program has been expanding. The next area is support services. Student support services are areas that support the students in the classroom and help to guide them in the day, help them to succeed in the programs that they're enrolled in. This includes things like the nurses, the child study team, the guidance counselors. It also includes your librarians. And so all those programs help support the instructional program for the students. Additions to this particular area that are included in the 23-24 budget include our maintaining of the programs we have started in the past, which address social issues and stress management. We are continuing to add services for mental health, both behavioral as well as social and emotional. And then we are making changes in our high school transitional program. This is a program that's for our special needs students up at the high school as they transition into life outside of school, and we are expanding that program in order to meet their needs better. Third area is administrative services. As we begin to use technology more and more in the daily life of our students, as they're being educated in the classroom, the needs that are occurring for more technology support have been expanding, and so we're expanding that particular department in order to meet the needs and also deal with issues like cybersecurity. And then the last area is operations and capital improvements. Changes in this area include additional costs because of anticipated changes in transportation. We have seen over the last few years rises in both the raw materials such as gasoline in this area, but also in case of drivers and rates going up a lot, and so as a result the route rates go up. In terms of capital improvements, we will be doing over the summer, we will be doing work at Cedar Hill in the entranceway. We will be doing work at Woodmont to build an outdoor learning area, and Lazar in the interior to do some repair work in the hallways and to do some repair work on the lockers. In addition, we'll be doing some maintenance projects, which includes painting and ceiling replacement at both Lazar and the high school. So this pretty much is just an overview of the changes that will occur. On the 25th of April, the board will be having its public hearing on the 23-24 school budget, and they will go into a great deal more detail, so we definitely welcome you to come to that presentation, but this gives you an overview of what's been included for next year.
Thank you. I would note that we are increasing our teacher enrollment, our number of teachers we have due to increasing enrollment.
By one.
Anything else? We have the auditor here? No. You're the auditor. Now you'll switch over to doing the audit.
So the budget is the beginning of the school year process, and the audit is the conclusion. Whereas the budget is setting up the anticipated costs that we think we're going to incur, the audit is at the conclusion of the fiscal year to indicate what was actually spent and what we actually incurred. And unfortunately, Mr. Hay could not be here tonight to do the presentation of the audit, so I am doing it for him. This is the presentation of the AFRA, which is the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for the district for the period ending June 30th, 2022. You may be wondering why it's March and we are presenting on the year that ended last June. Part of what has been occurring over the last few years is as the Financial Standards Board, which governs schools as well as other governmental entities and its reporting, expand their requirements for whatever is included in our annual reports. We are beholden to waiting on information from Trenton, particularly in the area of benefits related to our particular benefit packages, and as a result, we wait until they give us the numbers. And so our audit was actually complete back in the early fall, and we just take the whole thing, it sits on the shelf until the numbers come out, and then we finalize it, and that's what you're getting tonight. In terms of just an overview, if you turn to that very first page, what that shows is the governmental funds. All of you received the entire annual comprehensive report. It's a much larger document than just this one page. But what this one page focuses on is the governmental funds. Those are the funds that contain all of the operating elements of the district, and transactions summarized in those reports represent our general operations. Those are broken into 4 different areas: general fund, special revenues fund, capital projects, and debt service. I'm going to particularly focus you on that page. This is the balance sheet. This is giving you an overview of where the district stands as of June 30th, 2022. And particularly, I'm going to focus you on the fund balances, which is similar to the district savings accounts. So if you think of your own home, your house would be your big asset, and probably you have savings accounts that you put aside to do repairs on your house, things for improvement in your house, and that's exactly what the district does. So in the case of the general fund, the first 4 numbers that are listed in that section called fund balance relate to the monies that we have set aside to do projects into the future. Some of those projects were done during the summer of '22 and are being finished. An example of that would be the work that we did on Lazar in providing the security vestibule. Some of those are for future projects that haven't even occurred yet. Inclusive of that would be the projects that I mentioned in the presentation for the budget, such as the work being done at Cedar Hill. Some of the other areas that are notable is that $1.5 million that is listed closer to the bottom of that page, same column. That's the money that you actually have appropriated into the current budget, the 22-23 budget, to help offset tax impact. So as you look through these documents, what it really gives you is a picture of what the health of the district is. And from the money that we put aside, you can see that the district is healthy. I'm going to bring your attention to the last page of that particular packet, which actually is a summary of the littler packet that you have received. And what that lists is the outcomes of the audit. So part of the presentation is what the auditors found when they were here. And they go through a number of different areas. Listed on there are 9 different areas. And of those 9 different areas, there were no findings except for one, and that was in the area of purchasing related to our usage of national cooperative purchasing agreements without fulfilling the requirements to actually use them. And so as part of the resolution that you have on your agenda, it includes the acceptance of this report, but it also includes the acceptance of the corrective action plan in order to address that particular finding. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much.
Excellent job. Working closely with Ms. Lund, I can just tell you it is a very clean budget, very well organized. To have one recommendation out of 9 categories is tremendous. So I want to thank you for all the work that you put into this and keeping us afloat again for another year. So thank you.
Sir.
Every year I suggest this, and I guess Katine never does this, but I would like to include in the minutes that the board thanks you for an outstanding audit report and for the work that you've done, especially during this past year, working on the budget for next year.
I'll make sure they're in there this year.
I don't know, I'm getting used to these clean budget audits. I mean, we never seem to have much going on. It's a little boring, but I'll take it.
So I have one announcement with a retiree that's on the agenda tonight that we'll get into a little bit later. Elise Miller has been an exemplary Montville Township Public Schools employee for 17 years. She began her tenure in 2006 as Woodmont's reading specialist after a career in publishing. In 2013, she became the district supervisor of elementary education. We have been so fortunate to have Elise in this position for the last 10 years. She has been instrumental in improving our programs, instruction, pedagogy, and with each elementary school. During our time as supervisor, we have changed our math, English language arts, science, and social studies programs, expanded our basic skills programs and gifted and talented services, improved their use of student data to drive instructional decisions, and moved to a standards-based report card, just to name a few of our accomplishments. These improvements to our curriculum and instruction at the elementary level were sustained because of Elisa's ability to foster a positive and collegial relationship with teachers, reading specialists, and building administrators. She has been an integral part to our district and an asset to the administrative team. She will be greatly missed, but we wish her well and all the best as she begins her new adventures in retirement. We're going to miss her.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on then. Next section is good news. If you would like to take a look at it, that's a very nice section. It tells a lot about what we're doing. There are all the fun things. You heard some of them about Lazar, but there's plenty more at the other schools. I would mention, though, that I had the opportunity, as well as a few other members up here, to go to Woodmont and do the Read Across America. That was a lot of fun reading to the kids. Every year, it's always a real blast to read stories to them. They enjoy it, we enjoy it, and I look forward to it again next year. And then, so moving on to section G, liaisons. Finance, Karen.
Just to echo what Charlie said about Katine, thank you, Katine, for your years of putting together such a great budget. No report.
Shocking. Okay, curriculum, Michelle.
Yeah, the curriculum committee met today before closed session, and a couple of topics that we discussed. One was the reallocation of how we're going to be using ESSER 3 funds. These were funds that became available. We applied for a grant from the American Rescue Plan to allocate funds for learning acceleration and coaching. And we've been able to, teachers and administration have been able to identify the ways that we could best use that for the needs of our kids, which includes professional development and research and resources to help kids at the schools who are below grade level or need extra assistance in working with English ELL students, providing coaching for counselors and CST, and how to manage students' behaviors post-pandemic. So that's going to be done, and the resources that we have from that will be used very effectively. We talked about various curriculum that is being new and updated. The science, research, and design is an entirely new curriculum that will be proposed, is being proposed for the next school year. And the curriculum being updated include AP Art, Chorus 6, Chorus 7 and 8, and Financial Literacy. There was some discussion, some updates, and we will be voting on the curriculum at the April 25th meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Policy, Joe.
No report.
Communications, Mike Palmer.
Right. We met on March 9th, and some things we talked about. Our new website, which we expect to go into effect on July 1st, out with the old final site and in with the new Apogee, I'm sorry. And why we're doing this, better website, more user-friendly, among other things, it enables schools to put their own social info into the website, social media info. So we think it's going to be an upgrade, and we're looking forward to it. We discussed the various methods of communication. Of course, I'm sure many of you get Dr. Gorman's update. He's been, well, on a personal note, very, very proactive in keeping people up to date and communicating, and he's done an excellent job. But we talk about using the TAP. That's become a very good use of, a good source of communication. Other things we use: Twitter, Facebook, Montville Moments. The Citizen has been very good to us. Instagram, Daily Record, not as much as we would have hoped, but it's serves nonetheless. We had a discussion, just a general discussion as to possibility of expanding the calendar to give certain days off for certain religious holidays, and more specifically, how to communicate that and how to generate discussions with both community and religious leaders. Obviously, no decisions were made or anything, but it's on the radar, and it's something that I'm sure we'll be talking about more in the future. We discussed surveys. Should we do them? How often should we do them? What should we take surveys of? Getting more community involvement and having people, giving people a chance to let us know what's going on in their minds, how they feel about the district, and a chance to give some input. And finally, we discussed how to possibly generate something where we could have students produce material for publishing, possibly on TAP. Again, TAP's been very, very good to us in terms of communications.
Thank you very much. Safety, Mike.
No report.
Liaisons, delegate liaison, New Jersey School Board Association, Karen.
Thank you, David. I had the pleasure and honor of attending the governor's budget address on February 28th. It was an exciting experience. And I'll just give you a couple of budget highlights. We'll start with the total size of the budget. It is $53.1 billion. It includes a total of $20 billion in aid to schools. And of that amount, $10.7 billion will be directed to school districts in formula aid. And that's an $832 million increase over last year. There was also an increase in the amount, not an increase, a total amount of $420 million for special education aid. And there was also a significant $20 million towards stabilization aid. And this is to help school districts that are now receiving cuts because we're actually using a formula to calculate their aid. So as they don't suffer any harm, the stabilization aid was $30 million last year, it's $20 million this year. We don't fall into that category. We're a district that has been receiving a little bit more aid based on cuts we received over the past 15 years. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Morris County School Board Association, Michelle.
Yeah, two upcoming meetings on March 29th. It'll be at the County College of Morris. It's the Unsung Heroes meeting where they're going to recognize a senior and an 8th grader from each school district who are unsung heroes. They make outstanding contributions and are often overlooked in traditional student recognition programs. So anybody who would like to attend that. And then the next regular Morris County School Board Association meeting will be a hybrid meeting, both in person and virtual, on May 4th.
Thank you. What's the date of that one, Michelle?
May 4th.
Thank you. Morris County Educational Services, Joe.
Yes, we had a virtual meeting last Wednesday in which we approved the budget for 23-24.
Anything else? No?
That's it.
Okay. Then I'll stay with you, Drug Awareness Council.
We had a meeting on March 2nd, and we were just highlighting their April 13th program we're going to be doing here at the high school in the auditorium. We just got confirmation that the Homeland Security and DEA will be attending to give a presentation as well on the current drug trends that are happening at the seaport. I was getting through.
Okay, thank you. Liaison, Montville Athletic Boosters, Charlie.
Yeah, I was unable to attend. I was just notified that afternoon. Ultimately, didn't have another plan, so maybe I'll get in touch with Wayne or you can. I need more than 3 hour notice.
I agree. Cedar Hill, Karen.
No report.
Charlie, anything from Hilldale?
No report.
Valley View, Joe.
There's a meeting tomorrow night. It's virtual at 7 o'clock.
William Mason, John. Okay. We had
Woodland.
Sorry, Woodland.
Yeah, we had a PTA meeting last night I attended. It was virtual. Discussed a number of things. We discussed the Dr. Seuss Read Across America, which I, as well as many other people sitting up here, were happy to read for. I got to read to two 2 grades. It was a lot of fun. There's a presentation on student behavior by a behaviorist by the name of Liz Callahan. Talked about Paws Across America, which I guess is a nighttime reading thing they did at Woodmont, fun thing. There are some questions about the referendum that were just addressed to me, and I tried to address them as well as I could. Got the opportunity to move over a couple of feet, let my beautiful wife, Carol, take my place for a couple seconds as a representative of Montville Educational Foundation. She discussed MEF and the benefits of the school being involved and what MEF can do for the schools. Talked a little bit about the Michelle Sullivan game coming up, fun fair, Mother's Day plant sale, and the school dance on April 21st.
When is Michelle Sullivan?
Actually, that I don't know. I don't know the date.
You know, okay.
April 14th.
April 14th?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that is a very fun game. If you've never been to it, I encourage you to go to that one. Okay, so Lazar.
Monday evening, 7 p.m., the Media Center.
High school, Mike?
They're actually canceling the meeting this month, and there wasn't as much, and it's going to be a very big final meeting on May 8th, Monday, May 8th, where they're going to recognize a lot of things and go through business. So that'll be the next meeting.
Thank you very much. Okay, now it's time for our first. Okay, so now it's our time for our first public participation session. Anything on the agenda? If you would like to come up to the podium, introduce yourself, name, address, and just let us know what you think about items on the agenda. We will have another public participation session at the end for any items not on the agenda. Looks like it. So seeing none, I ask for a consent resolution, motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, section I.
Andy? Yes, please do the agenda.
Before I get into that, I just want to go over some of the things you were talking about tonight, about the enrollment analysis and the resolution you'll be doing. I'm just going to do a quick summary of what we talked about last week and just walk you through a little bit of this before we move on. So tonight is going to be the 4th time we've discussed the student enrollment analysis as well as a possible referendum solution. I just want to highlight last week's points of the 5 elementary schools will be the most greatly impacted. We will have 410 overall unhoused students within 5 years. This is because of the increased birth rates, new housing, as well as the increased migration patterns, which means more people moving into town. The schools are currently just slightly over capacity. Again, that doesn't mean anything illegal or anything like that, but it just means we're a little overcrowded. But as we see the growth increase, the new housing, we're going to increase these numbers over the next couple of years and giving these larger figures in 5 years' time. While the enrollment changes will be affecting all the schools, the ebb and flow of the students will be more easily absorbed at the middle school and the high school level, and the impact will be greater at the elementary level. Just over the past 10 years, we do use the school rooms differently at the elementary levels. We've increased our student special ed population. We've moved a lot of these kids back here into the district, which is a great thing. And we've also increased services for all our students with different services and different types of teachers that we need to help educate them along the way. We investigated 5 different solutions, and one of them was to do nothing, purchase modular homes. Another one was building a new school. Another one was redistricting. We talked about all those pros and cons at the last time, and the one that we came up with was adding the additions to the 5 elementary schools. So the cost for this, let me just jump forward, for the 5 schools would be 24 classrooms at $42 million. And then what we talked about was, should we be looking into other possible projects that we have to get completed over the next several years. Security vestibules was a big topic with the community. We have one going in at Cedar Hill this summer. We already have one being built at Lazar. but for the other 5 schools, we want to also complete similar type projects. The HVAC system is long outlived its life in all of the schools, and we're slowly trying to fix them as we move along, and this is an opportunity for us to look into that. So the security vestibules along with the HVAC systems would be another $17 million, and then we have 3 elementary schools without cafeterias that would be almost another $11 million. So the overall price tag for this proposed referendum would be $70 million. With that said, remember, we do get funding from the state. So after we submit all our plans to the state, there's a formula that they calculate, and it could be anywhere between 0 and 40%. We know it's not going to be 0, but it's going to be somewhere in between there that we'd be able to get money back from the state to make this more advantageous so that the taxpayers aren't going to be hit with the full amount. The reason for a lot of these increases, of the high price tag, is because of increases in worker salaries, a scarcity of supplies, which has increased supplies to a higher level, and inflation. So what we're doing tonight is we're asking the board to approve a resolution instructing the district's architect to submit to the Department of Education the scope of work needed to address the district's enrollment increases. This action is non-binding, but necessary for the Department of Education to review and approve the proposed construction projects for a possible referendum. At the April Board of Ed meeting, we will be discussing the tax implications of this proposal. We will have our finance team here to be giving us and looking at several options for us to look at and what the tax impact would be on the taxpayers in town. So I just wanted to say that before we move forward. Any quick questions from the board? All right.
I do. Katine, you were so helpful today. I mean, yesterday explaining it to me, the 2.5 hours I was with you. And I'm wondering if you can communicate to the public regarding, you know, that $70 million is a big number. How you draw from that, what can you explain that to the folks?
Sure. So what's before the board right now is simply the 24 projects that make up the summary of all of these things that were just discussed. And what I think we're asking right now is we're asking, do you agree that we need to consider classrooms? Do we need to consider replacing univentilators in buildings that are now 60 years old? And would you consider the cafeterias? As Dr. Gorman said, this is a non-binding event. What you're authorizing is the architects to submit the information to Trenton. What happens when it gets down to the Department of Ed is that they review these projects, they evaluate them for their educational and academic necessity, as well as looking at health and safety of the facilities as it relates to the items included in the projects. When they do that, they are willing, if those projects are deemed to be sufficient, to go and put state money towards the projects. And that can range, as Dr. Gorman said, anywhere from 0 up to 40%. The expectation is that a majority of the projects being proposed will receive some percentage of support from the state. If people remember when we passed the 2017 referendum, those projects that were proposed as part of that were funded at 40%. So the idea is that for every dollar of building that's made, the state pays for 40 cents of it. And the idea is that by participating in this, we can then be able to lessen the impact on the taxpayers for the building of that $1 of building that we're constructing. Now, when we look at these numbers and we look at what is a very large number, 70 million, which sort of overwhelms all of us, only a portion of that, let's just say 50 to kind of round things easily, would actually end up affecting the tax rolls, because the other 20 would be funded through the state providing their 40%. When we look at that 50 million, we then begin to look at how would we go about
funding that 50 million. And that's when you start talking about bonding and going out for bonds. We sell the bonds, and then the proceeds from the bonds are then used along with the money that the state is giving us to go and then build the buildings. In terms of the tax impact, the tax impact occurs when we begin to pay off those bonds. So there's a lot of different elements that we look at when we are looking at how the tax impact is calculated. And that's a lot of what will be discussed by the finance team on the 11th of April, but sort of as just general overview, we can choose to go out and bond all 50 million all at once. And then we would then draw all that money, it would begin to hit the taxes. However, all the interest earned on that money until it gets spent is automatically set aside to then reduce future taxes. So if I sold all 50 million and in the first year $1 million were to come due to be making payments on that 50 million, and I earned $1 million in interest that particular year, the tax impact would be zero. I won't be earning that much, but that would be a nice situation. But that's the idea. And as that money is earned, it gets put aside, and then it reduces the impact going forward. Another way to do it would be to look at the projects and say, for example, those unit ventilators have a 12-month lead. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense maybe for me to go and do a drawdown of the 17 million, because I'm not going to need the 17 million for at least a year from now, because of the fact that I'm not going to have these units for a year. It takes a year for them to actually build them with supply chain issues and all that other stuff. So maybe what I do is I take the 15 million and I only bond what I need right now, and I wait to bond the rest. And then that elongates the tax impact. And all of those different scenarios, with real numbers this time, the finance team is going to go through with the board on April 11th.
Thank you, that was very helpful, I'm sure for everyone.
That was excellent, thank you.
So we really can't need to wait until April.
It's going to be so exciting.
It's hard to wait. We all want to know, but we have to wait.
Thank you, Katina. I'm going to make you do one more explanation, because I know you're good at it. And these price tags on these classrooms are quite high. You know, 4 classrooms, $5 million. We see small castles going up in this town for less than that. Can you help explain to the public why those numbers are so high?
So there's a couple different things that affect. The largest thing that affects is prevailing wage. So we are required as an entity of the state of New Jersey to offer prevailing wage on all of our projects. And that prevailing wage is definitely what causes the difference between what you could probably build your house for, probably not paying prevailing wage, and what prevailing wage would result in when it gets applied. Secondly, we have to go to bid for these projects. So we are at the mercy of whoever the low bidder is for that particular project and whatever the market is doing at the time. What the market is doing right now is we are seeing a lot of still supply chain / inflation events occurring. Either that you can't get the raw materials, there's long leads on the materials, or just the cost of the materials are going up substantially. Additionally, what you're finding is that because you're having problems finding these particular items, they're jacking prices up. And so, for example, we had a preliminary estimate on possible work being done. This number right now, which includes the bids that have been opened over the last 6 months by our architects, increased by about 1/3 as a result of him originally estimating based on what was going on at that time, maybe about 6 months ago, and then opening bids for 6 months, then taking the data of those bids, and then re-looking at the projects again and applying those rates. So between those 3 elements, prevailing wage, going out to bid, and then just whatever's going on in the market, it's a lot higher than if you tried to build your house in Montville, for example.
Do you know how many bids he took?
I can get that information. I don't know. I don't know how many they opened in that 6-month period, but I certainly can find out. Yep.
Yeah, and those bids would be coming from other school
Correct.
I think the length of the bond is also an indicator.
Yes.
Having done this, and that'll, I'm sure the finance team will go through that, because if you bonded for 10 years versus 30, it actually makes the tax impact.
Exactly. Exactly.
Any other questions from board members?
So we have two changes then for the consent resolutions. We have an addendum, section K, which will be for Cedar Hill exterior renovations. You all received that right before we met. And then on page 5, section J1, number, I'm sorry, no, page 11, M1 on page 11, that workshop is not being offered right now, so we're going to strike that one from the record.
So you're removing it.
I'm removing it.
Need a motion?
Yeah, have a motion.
Yeah, there's a
So
motion and a
move the,
second. There already
agenda
was a
first.
motion and a second, just as amended with those changes.
Okay, Karen will do it.
Yeah.
I'll move the agenda with the addendum, and we'll have to vote.
So I've got a movement by Karen and a second by Joe.
Okay. Okay, questions on section I, the minutes. Section J, I would point out on section J, J1, the contribution from the New York Jets for equipment for the girls' flag football team at the high school. Very generous contribution of $9,000, as well as the contribution from Ion Bank toward our high school scholarship fund. Again, very generous. I know Ion has been involved in the community for a long time, so thank you again. I would also note on J3, the Lazar students, oh, they're gone, but they're starting a few more clubs there. I encourage everyone, or I encourage the kids there to join these clubs. It sounds like they're doing a great job getting the kids out and back from COVID, so I encourage them to continue. Okay, section K, facilities and finance, any questions? Got the addendum there. Section L, personnel. M, we have one correction. Section N, policies, we have a number of policies that we're voting on tonight. Any questions? No? Okay.
Dr. Cordolino?
Yes.
Mr. Daughtry?
Yes, abstain on K1, K5, and M1.
Oh,
Yeah, just K1 and K5.
Mrs. Fano?
Yes.
Mr. Grau?
Yes.
Mr. Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Petrosino?
Yes.
Mr. Rappaport?
Yes.
Ms. Zuckerman?
Yes.
Dr. Modrak?
yes. Okay, no closed session. Old business from the board? Any old business from the board? Discuss?
Dave, excuse me, I have one question. When we get large donations like the Jets gave to the athletes, do we invite them to come to the Board of Education meeting, or do they do any PR?
We could, sometimes they do PR, come and see our students, but they kind of helped start this whole girls flag football league, so they'd be going to dozens and dozens of schools, so I don't know.
Okay,
Oh, we could always try.
We have other donations on the agenda. Beer and a piano or something.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Or exercise equipment. But there, I think we said it, thank you for.
Typically, after the board agendas, then we send thank yous, yes.
Okay. Any new business, general board comments? No? Okay, now is our second public participation session. Thank you all for sitting through all of our meeting. If you have something to add, please come up to the podium, take the microphone, introduce yourself, your name, address, and tell us what you're thinking. I see you two looking at each other. Come on.
Hello, everyone. everyone. My name is Embreen St. Risby. I know you guys have heard from me enough already. I live on 5 Court. You asked me to say that last time, Montville. Thank you for allowing our children to speak last week, and I think I sent the letter out to everybody. I'm here on behalf of the Montville Muslim community, and I know that Mr. Palma had mentioned something about you guys discussing about the calendar, and I guess we're asking on behalf of the community a little bit more detail in terms of, you guys said that you guys are looking at it for the upcoming months. So what does that mean? I mean, to get an idea.
Right, so I mean, there's several things on the table. We're looking at it for this year, you know, with Give Back Days, we talked about that. You know, can't make a decision because we're still getting snow, obviously, so I have to figure out how that's going to work out. And then next year, we are also looking into that because the schedule's already built. So it would require us changing things around. But we're also talking to other community leaders about their religions and things like that. So we're looking at a lot of different options and how that's going to affect the calendar. So it is going to take a little bit more time about next year.
So, okay, so getting a little bit more detail on that when you say talking to other community leaders, I have to go back and answer. So I have to understand, and then we have to go back and answer. So I understand that if other community leaders may have come out with other meetings, and I don't know. But I know their concern is that if the calendar is made for next year already, if we're looking at, we're in, soon going to be in April, but April, May, June left. If we're not looking at this now to do any changes, then it's probably going to be difficult to do it afterwards. It's not going to happen in the summer. So, is there a time, like, do we wait till like April and then come out again and discuss it, or maybe, in terms of what it is that's hindering it, like a little timeline?
I mean, honestly, the best I can tell you is a couple of months. I mean, obviously, you see the referendum is here. It's not being forgotten. The board has been talking about it, and I will be talking to other community members, but all this stuff takes time. So we're still within our time frame, the next couple of months, but before the end of the school year, I should have an answer for you, absolutely.
Okay, and then in terms of, I do understand with the weather, if we still, the other proposal, and this is all coming because other communities right around us have done the same thing, that they're not using the school days, so they have given Eid day off, like Plainfield did and Franklin Lakes just did. So things, the community members are seeing that the school days have not been used, and they weren't on the schedule for this year.
Right. So it's exactly right. So we are deliberately holding off until at least the end of March, early April. We've had snow even the first week of April, and people that are baseball fans know that's interrupted the schedule. And so, it will be a last-minute decision, in the next couple of weeks, just because we have no idea with the weather.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Now, I would encourage you to keep coming back to the meetings. Don't feel like you have to stay away.
Yeah.
Still come back.
I appreciate it. Thank you. We were going to have to be honest, there was a bunch of our non-Muslim colleagues in Montville community that support this, that we were all going to come out today and just kind of stand and see what we were going to hear. But because of the weather, we thought we were not to. So.
We do encourage people to come from the community, speak their mind, tell us what they're thinking. It's how we learn best is when you come and talk to us. So I encourage everyone to always come.
And we're open to, please, if you have any questions or anything, I think, I understand it's already made. I know it's difficult. I don't do this, so I'm sure it's difficult. But if there's anything we could help with information, let us know. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Sherry Shamsuddin, 6 Stewart Court, Highbrook, New Jersey. I was also up here. I was going to discuss the school enrollment issues. I also had the same issues. I used to be a former board member of Parsippany, vice president actually, for a number of years, and I moved into this beautiful town of Montville, which has some great schools and great school system. So fortunately, I had to step down from my position, but we were facing the same issues as well. One of the things I'd like to ask is, what's the current student-to-teacher ratio? I know when we were in Parsippany, it was 25-1. Is it over exceeding that? Is under exceeding that?
I don't have that offhand.
Question.
Yeah, I can try and find that
Classroom
out.
size is is a big factor, right? If it's
Find out,
not-
yes.
Especially at the elementary.
At the elementary school level, right, we usually had it 25 to 1, right, 25 students to 1 teacher. Is
You're talking about policy or?
Yeah, that was our policy.
Oh, yeah, policy we do have. It changes twice in the elementary schools. Okay, for you.
That's a big issue, right? So if we're way exceeding that, I can understand for the call for the extra expansion. I mean, it's going to be a big burden. I don't know how it's going to affect the taxpayers, but as a taxpayer in this town, it's.
The elementary, isn't it 24 to 1?
It's two different, yeah. It's K through,
K through 3 is 46 students. When it remains 2 sections, when we exceed 46, I believe we move to 3 sections. And then fourth and fifth grade, I believe it's 52 for maximum 2 sections. If it exceeds 52, it moves to 3
I'm
sections.
asking for classroom size, right? So if you have
Yeah.
one third grade class, how many students per teacher? 23. Are they over that? Are they under that?
no, we wouldn't go over it, no.
Are they under that, over that now?
They're under
That's
it.
calling for school expansion? So if
They're
we're
under
under
that.
that,
Correct.
and it's under that policy,
Well, they're under it right now, but in 5 years, they will not
do
be.
we know that that number is going to be exceeded for it to call for the expansion?
If you do nothing, correct.
That's a big burden for the taxpayers. So-
Correct, right. So that's what we're saying. So in 5 years, all those.
Has this already been approved? This is my first board meeting.
No, so tonight we're just submitting everything to the Department of Education, and then the board will decide about a referendum and what that would all entail, and then they would come out with, the details about that.
And on the
If
website,
he was to come to the April 11th meeting,
I'll
to
be
hear
there.
about the tax information.
Yeah. Maybe that's big.
the demographic reports are also online on our website. You can take a look at them, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So I sent out to the community on Friday all the different website information with the Board of Ed presentations, with the statistical forecasting projections, and all the other data that we put out there. If you haven't gotten that, you can just email me. I can
Yeah, I'll
make sure
send
you
you
get
an
it.
email tomorrow.
Sure,
That report.
sure. Yeah, that was sent out through our constant contact information.
I'll email you on that.
Yeah.
And, you'll probably see me at more board meetings.
No problem.
Trying to be more active.
Yeah.
Back to what Emery was saying, I know, I wasn't here for the last meetings about the Eid being off. I know it's a big event for the Muslim community, especially for the high school kids when they have a lot of exams going on. I know you called for excused absence, but excused absence is really not going to deter them from going through those exams, right? So they're going to miss a lot of exams and a lot of schoolwork that, especially kids that are in like the advanced placement classes, like my daughter, she had to miss last year because of advanced placements tests, and to miss out on some family events is not good. I know you said that the calendar for next school year is already done, but anytime a calendar is done, it can be adjusted. So I highly ask that you guys look into that calendar and adjust it. It can be adjusted anytime, as you know, per your policy. If not, I know a couple of snow days, we have 2 left, right? I believe we have 2 left.
This year
We didn't take one today.
We have 4 snow days left, but yes, 2 would be give-backs. Yes.
2 will give, what happens to the other 2? Those are just 2 extra.
They go away.
Goes away, yeah. I know April 11th is the next meeting, and it's probably going to be around the 23rd, so I don't know if it has to be on the agenda first before it gets approved. So hopefully it's on the agenda to get approved. If not, then maybe June for the next event. I'll come back for that as well and ask about that, but hope to be more active in these meetings and try to ask any question I can.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come to the microphone? No? I see no takers. Okay, that would wrap everything up. Motion closed?
Close.
Adjourned. Adjourned.